Hello, how are you today, sir?
I'm wonderful. And yourself?
Good, good. So I am talking with Mr. R.J. Veney. Is that the correct pronunciation of your name?
Yes, you're the first one to actually get it correct.
Which was easy, R period, J period, but Veney is your last name.
Yes.
Okay, and we are talking about your web series, Street Behavior. So let's start off by asking, one, I want you to tell me a little bit about yourself and your life's journey thus far.
Well, I'm a native New Yorker. And that's very rare for, I've noticed. I grew up in New York City in Rockaway, Queens. Um, I would say my life's journey is just dealing with being in an urban environment and being gay and trying to hide it, and then growing up and then accepting it. And then once I was able to accept it, that's when I was able to move back into being in film and doing things like that I love.
So let me get this right. You couldn't be open and gay in New York as a filmmaker? All of that stuff is, tends to go hand in hand.
Well, not even a filmmaker. Well, you have to think, I grew up in a very urban environment, very hood, I should say. And so I already speak extremely properly. So it was very hard for me, just being comfortable with myself for a while.
Oh, I see. Okay, I understand.
The timidness took over, so I was a little shy, so I wouldn't be outspoken. I wouldn't, I wouldn't display my creativity the way I should.
So I see. And your story is not unlike other LGBTQ people, I should say, growing up in an urban environment and not being able to openly express themselves.
Definitely. You see a lot of that, and that was part of some of the reasons why I have certain characters on the show, is to display that these people do exist in your neighborhood, from the drug dealer on the corner. You just don't know it, and it opens, because some people, because like you said, New York is different from, like, say, Oklahoma or something like that. They don't see certain things. So it's just like, I actually was pointing more towards the younger kids. I know my show's a little adult, but you just got to grab them in some way, shape, or form. So I just wanted them to see that there are other types of gay people that just may live in their neighborhood.
And when you say growing up in New York, what era are you speaking of, in the 80s or the 90s or the 2000s?
The 80s.
Okay, I see. I understand. Well, let's just talk about first. Why did you become a filmmaker?
Well, I've been actually writing screenplays since I was 12. So it's kind of hard for me to say why. I got my first video camera around that same time, and it's just been me and, like, hand in hand go with filmmaking. I took it all through high school and college, and then I took a break from it as I was in college.
So did you attend college to become a filmmaker, or what did you study? What was your major?
My study in college was media, which it pretty much was in high school as well. So I was studying everything. I studied television, radio, photography. So I studied everything about media.
I see. I see. So I read somewhere that you were a little bit of an introvert
Yes.
growing up, and that your studies in terms of filmmaking helped you or media specifically, helped you to overcome some of that shyness, if you will.
Actually, I was shy up until my late 20s. Um, I was actually cast in another web series, and being around so many people that weren't shy and forcing myself to do something that was out of my comfort zone. I've acted in stuff when I was in school and it was my production, but I've never been under the direction of somebody else and just actually done it and had to being told that I'm not speaking loud enough because, again, I am kind of shy and timid and introverted, so I don't vocalize as much as most people would expect me to when I'm comfortable around somebody. So that really brought me out of my shell.
That and having a couple of extra microphones tuned up real good so that people in the back row could hear everything that you were saying, right?
No, Jay Omar was not allowing that to happen. He's like, "Oh, you need to speak up. This ain't gonna work." I mean, my mom used to do that to me all the time. She's like, "You have to speak up," and it's always been really hard because I used to get teased about my voice when I was younger.
Right, and with mothers, especially in the African American community, where I grew up, my mother demanded that you give her eye contact as well. What's with that feet? What are you looking on that down on the ground? What's down there? You need to look me in my eye.
Right.
And she gave you that intimidating look too. So, yeah, that would help you overcome some shyness.
Yes, definitely. And the funny thing, I wasn't shy as a young kid. It actually started when I got in junior high school. Everybody's voices started changing and mine kind of lingered around just regular, and I don't know. But yeah, it was just like getting teased, and I just stopped wanting to talk.
So I read somewhere that you were a filmmaker, you studied media, but then that you took a hiatus from it. Why did you leave? What made you take a hiatus? What circumstances
I
took
got
place?
bored. I got bored with it at school, and when you get bored with it in school, it kind of takes a drain on you elsewhere. Because like I said, I took it from high school, so it got kind of draining. I went to college, and being at my age, we weren't allowed to test out of classes like they are now. You had to retake it no matter if you knew all the information. My first day of college, I was answering questions to the professor, and we didn't even get assigned a book yet.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm sitting in a film class answering questions, and everybody's looking at me like, how do you know that? And I'm using professional terms. I'm not using book terms, and he's just looking at me so confused. So it was like I got really bored. So I just went and was a regular human and got a job, and
Okay, so was this something on the lines of Cecil B. DeMille sitting in a Filmmakers 101 class going, okay, are you kidding?
Pretty much.
Who wouldn't know that? And who wouldn't know that, Annie?
Yes, I'm naming machines used in the booth, and all the kids looking at me confused, and not to mention I didn't go to my school was predominantly Caucasian, so that was my first experience being sometimes being the only black kid in the class. So that was a different experience on top of it as well.
Okay. And what made you decide to return to filmmaking as a craft?
Actually, doing that web series, it was like, oh, I could do this. And it was pretty much, I started writing with Jay Omar on that web series, and it opened me back up to writing and wanting to do something on my own.
Okay, I see. So, yeah, I am familiar with the works of Mr. J. Omar. Tuttle is who you're referring to in the web series project that you worked on. So tell me about some of the other projects that you have worked on in terms of web series and anything and everything.
Well, actually, as far as web series, I've only worked on mine and his. My show is so time consuming. I love it to death, but it is very time consuming. I have a lot of cast members, so it's not and I do everything myself. So it's not like I have a large amount of time to concentrate on anything else. So I have to think about future things okay, when I finish this season, then I can start working on other things. But while I'm shooting the season, I can't concentrate on anything else.
So I guess this would be a good segue to talk about your web series, which is called Street Behavior. And let's take it to the beginning and just talk about where did you find the inspiration for this particular project, Street Behavior?
The simplest way, walking down the street in the city with 5 or 6 of my friends, just talking, laughing, and I just stepped back and looked and was like, this is a show. Regular people doing regular stuff. The simplest thing, chilling and catching up with your best friend over coffee. When you look at other web series, you don't see normalcy. You see them trying to, create these stories, but sometimes it's okay to be normal. I don't actually consider my show a web series. My show is more of, I would say, a web soap opera.
What's the difference?
Because regular dramas usually concentrate on these 4 people that do this and that. My show, I have somewhere between 20 to 30 cast members. So
20 to 30 cast members. Think about just your audience having ADD.
Yeah,
and I understand it.
My show is not for everybody. If you're not into soap operas, my show is probably not for you because there's so much going on. If you're not the type of person that can concentrate and keep up, it's really hard. So, I actually am self-diagnosed to have ADD. So it's probably just my ADD on screen.
Okay, but then how do you edit yourself or narrow your focus for your audience? Because you're not making this project for yourself, but you're making it for others to sort of follow it. Or, maybe you are creating this street behavior for yourself.
Well, it's not hard to follow. It's just that it's not for everyone because not everybody watches soap operas. Just like not everybody watches late night dramas. But the late night drama is sometimes not for the soap opera watcher. So I have a lot of layers on the show, so you don't get bored with watching it. Some people connect with other characters. You can't just have 4 characters and think everybody's going to be able to connect to them. And then again, I don't just have gay cast members. My show I don't actually really consider my show I would call it an LGBT show, but it's not a completely gay cast. I don't consider that as being life. We don't live life as just being around gay people. Most of us have several female friends. A lot of us don't even hang around gay people. We hang around more of our female friends than anything. Some of us hang around our male straight friends. You just have to go through a whole different, you can't just have 4 cast members and try to cover as much as I wanted to.
Okay. And this is the second season of Street Behavior.
Yeah.
I was initially under the impression that this was the first season, that it was just getting started and
no. We're actually in the middle of the second season.
You're in the middle of the second season. See, I just missed everything then.
Yeah, I took a creative break in between this season, because it is a lot on my shoulders. So I needed a creative moment to get myself reacclimated and re-inspired. So I took a break.
So let's step back just one more time and just talk about what is street behavior. Briefly tell us. What is it?
Street behavior is about a group of people who live in this one neighborhood and interact, maybe not personally, but they know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody. Just like any other urban environment. I may not know you, but I know your mama. I may not know you, but I know your sister. Things like that. And how gay people actually interact with straight people on a regular basis and how they deal with straight people that might be teasing them, who might be bullying them, who might just be there. It's just a way to, I actually just want it, every show has a lesson. So whether it's about love, whether it's about sex, whether it's about crime, whether it's about anything, every show has a lesson built into the entertainment value of the show.
What are some of the thought processes that you use to create this show?
I have no idea. Honestly, when I sit down in front of my computer, when I go back and like I'm filming and we start filming, I say action and they start talking and I'm just like, I wrote that? Like, And I don't know where some of this stuff comes from. I don't think, because when I start thinking, that's when I personally think my writing sucks. So I just go. Like, if I'm not in the mood to write, I'm not writing. So I have to be in a mood. I just sit down and just start typing. And whatever's in my brain, that's what comes out.
So you're a improvisational writer, if you will.
Yeah. I don't outline. I don't do any of that.
Okay. So how does that work in terms of the casting process?
The casting process? Well, the casting, yeah. Sometimes I might just pop up with a new character, and then I just have to cast really fast. But usually I try to write. I sit down and, like this season, I sat down and wrote the whole season in one failed shot. And so I was able to sit here and understand who I had to cast and all of that. But sometimes when you're dealing with so many people in New York City, sometimes you might part ways with an actor, and then I have to rewrite and recast to pick up that slack in that storyline.
So then Street Behavior is not a documentary, it is a soap opera. Mm-hmm. And is it fictional or partly fictional, partly non-fictional, or what?
Definitely completely scripted.
Okay.
Definitely completely scripted. I mean, a lot of the gay cast members are little pieces of my life. My character in particular is just plain old me, my life in general. But a lot of them are picked off of me. I was interviewed before, and I actually said, because I have lesbians on the show, and the one lesbian in particular, when I actually sat down to write it, I said, you know what? I'm going to make her the worst lesbian possible. And
what do you mean by worse?
I'm not going to give the cookie cutter, oh, I've been with this person for 10 years, oh, we're happy, we have children. I don't want that lesbian, because that lesbian to me is so typical to see on television, is so typical to see everywhere, but that's not the only lesbian that exists. You do have lesbians that cheat. You do have lesbians that do things like that. They're not perfect. They're not cookie cutter. So I don't want people, I don't want the general public to think that every gay person is always cookie cutter. We exist in so many different levels and colors. That's why it's the rainbow, is the national symbol for being gay. Because there's so many different types of gay people. There's so many, and all you see on television is the hairstylist, the makeup artist, the fashion stylist. You don't ever see the guy that just gets up and goes to work. You don't see the guy that's the pastor at a gay church. Things like that. I wanted to show everything. I wanted to touch on everything, those taboo subjects that nobody else wants to touch on. I don't care if I get ostracized for it, if nobody likes it. I did my creativity. I put my mind in it.
So what is the one thing you want audiences to retain from this show?
What I want them to retain is, one, they were entertained, and that, like I said, there are so many different types of gay people. I want, if a straight person does watch the show, like I do have a lot of straight females that watch the show, and they see their friends, versus watching something else where they might not see their friends because their friends, that masculine boy that half of the world doesn't know. I've been the friend that, strangely, after being teased as a child for assuming I was gay, to be husbands wanting to beat me up because they thought I was cheating. I was out. Their wife was cheating on me. Those kind of gay people do exist, and that's what I think the world needs to see, is that there is so many. I'm so happy that a lot of shows like Shonda Rhimes and Scandal, they're showing different types of gay people. Gay people could be in the White Office, like things like that. I love that.
And so, well, at least to the question just regarding the internet and many of the series that you see on YouTube and Vimeo, it's filled with web series that covers the lives of gay people and African-American gay males. How is your show, how is Street Behavior different than any of the other offerings?
Well, my show is not one race, and that's what most people come back to me and say. I love the diversity. I have a biracial couple. I have Spanish people on the show. I have white people on the show. I don't stick. The world doesn't exist with just black people. I'm biracial myself, so I don't look at the world in one color. So I wouldn't. I guess that would be the major league difference between my show and most basic African American shows, is that they discount that there are white people in the urban neighborhood. There are definitely Spanish people in the urban neighborhood. So I love the fact that my show is so multicultural, and because it speaks to a lot of people. My show is watched all over the world. It shocks me sometimes, the messages I get from countries.
So where is do you have a YouTube channel where people subscribe, or
Yes.
where can we find the show?
You can find the show on YouTube.com/streetbehavior or on streetbehavior.com.
You know, what was I just going to say? Let me get my thought. No, a basic question just jumps in my mind. What is the biggest misconception that others have about you or your work?
I think a lot of people that watch the show think that there's a production team behind the show versus it just being solely me. Like, I'm the camera person, I'm the lighting person, I'm the sound person.
Yeah, you are the camera person, the director.
I'm the camera
You're
person,
the DP,
director, the writer,
director, PA.
I do all my editing, everything.
And you do it all by a garage door opener, right? It's by remote. So you have a bunch of things set up, and you can just press and go that way right there, and things.
That would be beautiful. In a perfect world where I could just press a button and it does everything for me, yes, that would be wonderful. But no, it's a lot of time-consuming work.
So does that mean that you are only behind the scenes, but you are not a character that's in front of the camera?
Actually, I am actually one of the actors on the show. And me and the tripod are best friends.
But how do you direct yourself then? It's easy to set a camera up and just have it shoot and.
Oh, I can tell. Oh, please, I'm my worst critic. So like, I'm always beating myself up. I'll be like, that sounded horrible. I'm doing it over. Like, it's very easy for me to direct myself. I analyze everything. I'm a perfectionist. So, as many people that like the show, I actually look at most episodes and cringe at some things. So, yeah, especially my scenes, I hate watching them.
Why?
I don't like watching myself. A lot of people are like that. I was actually listening to the radio earlier on some more. She said she never watches herself, ever. So many people say that. They don't watch themselves, ever. I hate watching myself.
So we can't expect to see you have a knife and a fork and spoon on the table and you go, oh, look at you, sexy, smile at yourself. And
I could do that for pictures, but as far as me moving and talking and stuff, no. No. Mm-mm. No.
Now, so where do you see yourself professionally in the next 10 years?
Next 10 years? You know, I try to live in the moment because if you concentrate too far in the future, I can disappoint myself easily. So I try to just concentrate on what I'm doing now. Hopefully I have a couple of projects in my head. Hopefully they come full circle as much as Street Behavior did and be as popular as it is. Because recently I just got to my 7,000th subscriber on YouTube, so I was very excited today. I just actually saw that this afternoon.
Okay, and this is year 2, so how many episodes per season?
Well, last season was only 8 episodes, but this season is 12.
And how often do you film?
How often do I film? I'm always filming. I tried to keep them every 2 weeks, but that was really stressing me out as far as airing goes. So I'm going to take my time and put them out as quickly as possible and try to keep it on a consistent basis. But it's like the every 2 week thing was really stressing me out, especially being that I'm doing it myself. I've tried having outside help, but it really wasn't working for me. So I stick to doing it myself.
And how do you fundraise for this series? How do you raise money?
Everything comes straight out my pocket.
No crowd funding, Indiegogo,
I did that.
Kickstarter.
I tried that one good time. It wasn't very successful, so I just left it alone and just said I'll just do everything myself.
Okay. Are you also in charge of craft services? So you make sandwiches for your entire crew and.
Believe it or not, if you
I'm joking. See, you're going to tell me right now, yeah, I stayed up. As a matter of fact, I make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for the entire crew.
I surely wasn't. The funny thing was, one of my cast members I was actually on the phone with, and we were about to have a rehearsal, and I was like, oh, yeah, I'm going to go get pizza and all this other stuff, and she just said, no. I was like, what? What do you mean no? She was like, they can feed themselves. I was like, oh. She was like, those are grown people. You go to any other rehearsal, they don't feed you. I was like, oh. And actually, being that my show is SAG, I have to follow certain things, and if it's not more than 4 hours, you don't have to have craft services.
Say that once again.
If it's not more than 4 hours, you don't have to have craft services.
Okay.
You don't actually have to feed your actors. Unless it's more than 4 hours.
Okay. So I guess for my SAG-AFTRA, or the folks that aren't in SAG or at SAG-AFTRA, I can't talk. Same group now.
I usually just say SAG because saying SAG-AFTRA is a little much.
That's something to keep in my back pocket next time I want to work a crew like Hebrew slaves. If I cut it down to 259 or 357, I don't have to feed you folks a damn thing. They're grown folks. Let them go eat their own stuff.
They honestly, and I've been on I've done audience or extra work, and a lot of times they might just feed you when you walk in the door and say, okay, that's it. You ain't getting nothing.
Better make it last.
Right. I was on the Food Network shows, and they really had food there when we first got there and said, if this ain't here when you get back, then good luck. That's like, wow, 8 hours.
Okay, so now you're going to make me ask about that particular experience. What were you doing on the Food Network?
It was just because they actually cast people to the audience members at times.
Okay.
They're not always just people that just got tickets. They're usually paid people to sit there.
Okay.
It's interesting.
Learn something new every day. So so you're not just there because an audience scout sent you tickets and say you want to come be on this show, blah blah blah.
No, I was on the Steve Wilkos show once too. It's like a mix. Steve Wilkos show is like a mixture of regular people and casted. Because they want to some shows want to make sure that the audience is actually reacting. So if you have those planted people within your audience, you know that people react when other people react.
Oh, so it's contagious. So if you say, "Ooh, no, she didn't,"
yeah, then you got people talking around you because you started saying that. So it becomes, yeah, exactly.
Okay. What else would you like to share with us?
I don't know. Well, what else would I like to share? Well, just pretty much just look out for, I am planning on releasing an independent film next year. So look out for that. That's going to be very interesting.
About? What is this going to be about? You can't tell anybody. It's a secret. Okay.
Let me tell you something. It is so, the story plot is so far out there, and this, if I told somebody, they would probably run to some big studio and do it, and I'd be so upset. So as soon as I have it with SAG, and then I'll start talking about it.
Got it. Otherwise, mom's the word. I'm not going to tell these folks so they can steal my idea.
Right. The idea popped up in my head sitting watching a movie, and I said it out loud to my cousin, and my cousin just looked at me and was like, yes, you must do that. You must. Because that was just, the name and everything just came up in my head, right there on the spot. I actually have the whole plot line in my head.
Okay, so text me the idea right quick. Nobody's going to know. This is just between you and I. No one else will know.
Nope.
I won't tell, I promise.
Mm-hmm.
I will not give my agent at William Morris Endeavor a call. I won't. You know what? Those creative artist guys, forget them.
Mm-hmm.
I won't steal your idea. I swear I won't.
Mm-mm. I refuse. No. I'm keeping this one in my heart, in my head.
So again, Street Behavior has its own YouTube channel at
Street Behavior, youtube.com/streetbehavior, and on the website streetbehavior.com.
Okay, you said so much. We got to take two on that. One more again.
Okay.
Street Behavior has its own YouTube channel and can be seen where?
youtube.com/streetbehavior or on streetbehavior.com.
And if anyone wants to be a cast member of Street Behavior, where should they go? What should they do?
On streetbehavior.com, there's actually a link at the top. You can just click on it, and you can send your resume and headshot.
Well, Mr. Veney, I want to thank you very much for your time today. It has been wonderful to talk to you. I know that in between this telephone call, everyone out there who may be listening to this were under the impression that you were only doing an interview, but you were secretly filming another episode of Street Behavior via your remote control. You were editing and filming, and you were feeding your cast and crew too, because you do it all.
Hilarious. That was funny.
It's been a pleasure talking with you, sir.
Yes, same here.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.